Good evening, lamb chops. It's me, your favorite fluffy vampire bloomer. Yeah, you scared me. I was like, what? No music? What? Oh, hi. Yeah. Alright. Let's see, what happened last time? I know we didn't quite get through chapter 2. We had just, did that siege, I guess, on that hotel where we found a bunch of the Imperial people. I held hands with that one guy. Mystery boy, yes. We understand now that Mysterious Samurai was someone we actually knew in our past somehow. Alright, here we go. I was genuinely happy that the man Hijikata approved of me. Iba, was it? Yeah. Iba. On this particular day, I was out on patrol with Harada in the 10th Division. Excuse me, Harada. The Shinsengumi is out patrolling day and night, right? But what exactly is it that you do? Most of the men in the Shinsengumi were intimidating, death-dealing titans, but Harada was a rare exception, warm and friendly. You can hear it okay, right? Okay, good. A little quiet? Okay, let me turn it up. Do a little bit more. Oops. Okay. People who don't pay for their food? Good, okay. It wasn't really the answer I had expected. I guess the Shinsugumi's job is closer to the magistrates than I thought. Thinking back, I remembered how excited they were during the raid. What they did at the inn was far more intense than their day-to-day work. A little further down the road, a couple of men in the Shinsengumi blues were waving at us. Nagakura! I guess our separate rounds brought us to the same spot. Oh shit. No, nothing today. Yeah, you're right. Mr. Exhibitionist in the flesh. Yeah. We hoped we got his hand all better. All better. I hadn't noticed it before, but he was right. Oh wait, just got a notification Bloom is streaming. Gotta go check that out. Okay. Alright, bye. They were acting strange, almost nervous. Yeah, it looks like they were getting ready to move. What? War? There wasn't a war, was there? Were the Choshu going to try something again? They accepted their situation and never complained. I had a good deal of respect for Harada and Nakakura. So you think the Aizu will give you all the orders? Oh, then Emu. What? I was perplexed by this sudden invitation. Does this mean I could march as a member of the Shinsengumi? It seemed rather inappropriate for me to ask and to participate for curiosity's sake. Still, I very much hoped to be helpful in some way. Could I perhaps do something like what I'd done at the Akita Inn? However, there's also the chance that I become a hindrance as opposed to helping them out. Oh shit. Sounds dangerous for someone who's not much of a soldier. It's true. Damn, I wish it told me who was going where. Because if our lead husbandos are going, we should go. Yeah? But if they're not, then we should stay. It's like, I assume Tits Out Man is going. He's a prospect. But otherwise we're going for a mysterious samurai or Hijikata. And I have no idea which one is Hijikata. We still simping for Iba? Yes, we're still... Iba, I think, is still #1 pick right now. Don't think he'd likely to go. It's true. Because what is it? He's supposed to be guarding, like, the Emperor, right? Or their family? Okay, we'll stay behind. We'll stay behind. I'll stay behind. Hirata seemed to possess a still heart, guarding a voice that was slow but at peace. He didn't respond to my words, but he smiled kindly. Part of me felt safer leaving, just to avoid being in everyone's way, but also wanted to stay here, participating at this moment of peace for once. Although, how could I justify participating when I wasn't a true member of the Shinsengumi? I bottled up my feelings in contemplation, and I just returned to headquarters. Oh shit, is the fight here? Did we pick to be in the fight? Oh shit. A few days passed. Your medicine's ready? I was carrying medicine and some hot sake. The medicine was Ishida medical powder, which was manufactured by Hijikata's family. Ooh. Rip. Sanon's eyebrows rose at the mention of his name. Sanon rolled his eyes, but reached over to take his portion of the medicine and sake. He had been telling the truth, though. His injuries had healed, at least as much as they were going to, but his arm still refused to work properly. It was slowly becoming clear that it could probably never work properly again. Doesn't bother me, but I can hear the microwave. I know. I'm sorry. I'll maybe have to look into, like, maybe, I don't know. I guess I'm not sure how to make the mic less sensitive. Yeah. We should be okay now. I think everyone's done using the kitchen. Nagakura was injured at the Akita Inn, but he recently declared that he was completely healed, despite the fact that his wounds still looked painful. Just want to make sure you know. Yes, thank you, thank you. Morning. Ohio, Risu. I'd heard he had convinced Hijikata that his wounds weren't as bad as Okita's or Heisuke's. To my knowledge, the Blue Yeti is meant to pick up a lot of noise over a large area. It's true. Yeah, it's usually not a big deal at other parts of it. I think it's just because everyone's just kind of waking up late on the weekend to get breakfast and shit. I'm sorry. You got a similar one because I meant to go around my room, but it needed and I carried my mic. Ah. Heisuke muttered something bitter and angry under his breath, but Harada just laughed. Okita only smiled quietly as Nagakura gestured toward him. I know some of them have a switch on the back that can change... Oop. Oh shit. Change what mode it's in. Ah. And to be fairly close to the mic. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll have to look into that to see. Saito, however, remained silent. Is there something bothering you? I kept my voice low so as to not to interrupt the other men in their conversation. Oh. The sliding door suddenly flew open as Saito finished his sentence, and Kondo appeared. All their conversations ceased. Eyes turned toward Kondo. A cheer went up from everyone present. Kodo reminds me of the village chief. Oh, I see it. He turned to Hijikata, clearly hoping that the commander might give him a special leave to go. Oh. Hisuke's mouth snapped shut. I didn't think Hijikata would actually stab one of his own men, but neither did I think he would go easy on any of them, even if they were injured. Hisuke in his place, yes. Okita sighed and got up to leave. I assume I'll be staying here as well? Kondo nodded. He let out a short laugh and several men grinned. Before long, the Shinsengumi had left for the front, leaving only a handful of soldiers in the silent compound. Today I don't feel like doing anything. Yeah, same. It's Sunday, everyone's supposed to be lazy. So, what should I be doing while they're out? Oh, we're gonna go to the bookstore? Ooh. Ah, right. Kondo had asked me to keep an eye on Okita and Heisuke. I think Okita was in the inner courtyard. To be honest, I was a little concerned for him. He was still recovering, and being out in the cold air wasn't doing any favors in that regard. Still, that left Heisuke and Sunan. Maybe they're in the common room? Heisuke seemed particularly frustrated being forced to stay behind, and Sunan had been even colder and more distant lately. I was worried for Okita, of course, but I felt there was something deeper afflicting the other two. Where should I go? I guess we can stick to the rule of picking the options I haven't picked before. Even though I would rather go talk to Okita. I think he's a lot cuter. But hey, maybe we can get Sunan to be crazy. I heard Heisuke and someone else talking as I walked down the hall. They were in the common room then. It sounded as if Sanan was actually trying to cheer Heisuke up. How long had it been since I heard Sanan say something so nice to someone? He was a very kind man once upon a time. I missed that Sanan. An awkward silence fell over the room. It would have been rude for me to speak up, having left the inn unharmed on the fateful night, but if I pretended to enter for another matter, it would make it clear I was eavesdropping. I had no choice then. I had to return to my room. As soon as I returned to do so, Sanan's voice stopped me cold. Treatment. What did he mean by that? Medicine? But he was already taking the Ishida powder. Unless he was talking about something else. Heisuke shouted at Sanan. What was this conversation about? Something about the conversation seemed familiar. I heard them mention something around the first time I arrived. We were eating dinner together, and we'd received the news of Sanan's injury. They'd mentioned serum then too. Are they talking about that? Okita and Saito had to kill them? The night was an experience I'd never forget. But what did it have to do with the treatment? Father? What did Father have to do with their treatment? This was a great deal of information to take in. My mind was a hurricane of thoughts, suspicions, and fears trickling through the corners of my mind. Even when I struggled to make sense of what I just heard, I knew that I had stumbled onto something dangerous, something I shouldn't know. Suddenly, I wanted very much to be gone. Why did I stay and listen? I was such a fool. His cold, quiet voice filled the empty hall. Ah! Maybe the words came out of Sanan's mouth were directed strictly at Heisuke. Heisuke responded with a furrowed brow. I helplessly felt like those words were directed towards me. I scurried from the area as I grasped my fast-beating heart. If what Sanan had suggested really did happen, as silently as I could, I moved down the hall and away from the common room, back to the room. I suddenly wished I'd never left. The Choshu extremists' attempted attack on the imperial estate eventually came to be known as the Hamaguri Rebellion. Although the Shinsengumi were called into action, their efforts were stemmed, and they found little in the way of glory. Communication with their superiors was poor at best, and they spent the time in battle waiting for the reserves. When the Shinsengumi finally entered the battle, each man found several strange opponents awaiting him. There he is, my man. But we've already romanced him. Once in this game and once in Edo Blossoms. We're not gonna do this again. I won't fall for his charms again. We'll go for someone else. Okay. Chikage Kazuma, who defeated Okita at the Ikeda Inn, claimed to be from the Satsuma domain during his encounter with Hijikata. Kuyu Amagiri, the man who shattered Heisuke's headguard at Ikeda, who claimed membership in Satsuma. They had also met Kiyoshi Marui, who'd fought alongside the men at Choshu. Whoever they were, it was clear they were not allies of the Shinsigumi. Indeed, they could easily be some of the greatest enemies. If they were to meet in open battle, the casualties would be severe. By the time the battle was over, the commanders of the Choshu attack had been killed in the fighting, or took their own lives. There were some soldiers, however, who escaped, setting Kyoto ablaze as they fled. By some terrible misfortune, winds that day blew from the north and fanned the flames, reducing the southern end of the imperial estate to ash. As a result of the Choshu attack, many imperial nationalists were executed. With the Hamurugi rebellion over, the Choshu were branded as traitors for attacking the estate. From then on, they were acknowledged enemies of the court. (1864) November 1864. 2 months passed since Kyoto underwent the flames of the Hamaguri Rebellion. Summer faded into a warm memory, and the mornings and nights became constantly chilly. I think this is good. I examined my appearance in the mirror and tied my hair into a fine knot. Yep, that's good. The year neared November, making almost 9 months since I began living with the Shinsigumi. It seemed like I'd finally getting the hang of dressing like a man, compared to how unfamiliar it originally felt when I lived in Edo. For the keen-eyed, however, I guess there was no hiding that I was a woman. For instance, when I met Okita, Saito, and Harada, for the first time they all knew right away. And even when I met Iba. I thought I was doing a good job. Is my disguise as a man too obvious? I looked at myself in the mirror again. There really wasn't much I can do about my height or my face. Maybe I should act more like a boy to prevent rumors spreading about the Shinsigumi? Maybe I could use a huskier voice. But how would I go about doing that? Maybe I could try using words men use. I looked at my reflection once more and puffed my chest up, practicing some masculine words. So they think I look like a woman, huh? Huh, joke's on them. Man. I just got a cute face is all. Despite my looks, I'm very much a man, yo. How was that? I think that was a good start. Pretty manly. Football. Huh? A voice came from nowhere, and I quickly turned my head. Hey! Iba, when did you get here? Haha, well... Oh my goodness, how long had he been standing there? My face was flushed from embarrassment. I barely knew what to do with myself. No. Trust me, it isn't anything you said. If anything, it was all the things I was saying to myself. But to think Iba would approach me when I was just thinking about him. I took a deep breath discreetly and decided to ask him about why he was visiting. So, what brings you here today? Did you have business with Hijikata? If you do, both he and Kondo are out on business at the moment. For me? Is for me? For me? What? Were you able to find anything? It was nearly impossible to stop my voice from conveying my anticipation, but Iba shook his head glumly. Both of you did it for me? God dang. Ha. I see. Even though I braced myself for disappointment, his confirmation sank my heart like a stone brick. Yet again, I had to wait for a positive sign. If there's no trace of him returning to Edo, then does that mean he's still somewhere in Kyoto? Sharing one brain cell, sometimes you really do. Still, if that were the case, there was no way the Shinsengumi could have noticed. Kyoto was hit hard by the Hammurabi Rebellion. Thinking about it now, there's a chance that my father could have been involved in the fires, too. I worried more and more for him every day. Iba seemed to take notice of my mind working busily, so he tried to comfort me. Really? He nodded strongly to my response. Before Iba could finish, someone else spoke. We heard his mellow voice from beyond the hallway, and we turned to see Inoue standing in the doorway. Inoue-san. Shortly after, Iba led me to the main street. It was very rare for me to leave the compounds unless it was accompanied by a round. Also, I was accustomed to the attention we'd receive while on rounds, as civilians would stare in fear and hatred. In this moment, however, no one paid us any mind, passing by us as they went about their business. It was refreshing to see. Since arriving in Kyoto, I'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be a normal person again, even if I was in disguise. Are you sure it's okay for me to be out here in the open, outside the compound? I was so paranoid of getting into trouble with the Shinsengumi, so I had to ask Iba, albeit timidly. Right. I'm sure Inoue wouldn't blankly approve of me leaving the compounds without reason, so this was my biggest chance to gather any news on my father. Hey, Iba, would it be too much to ask about what kind of rumors you heard about my father? No. Iba froze up a little at my question. Oh my goodness. I wondered if something was wrong or if the rumor in question was a little awkward. I was lost pondering the pause of our conversation, and Iba gazed at me pitifully as he told the truth. Huh? I don't understand. I stopped walking. What does that mean? Iba looked at me with cloudy eyes and continued. Oh. I didn't know how to respond. All I could do was stand there and let the reality sink in. Iba's concern was appreciated, but... So in other words, you lied to Inoue. His body shifted at the sound of my suggestion, and he gave a rare smile before responding. Come to think of it, when I first visited the compound, Inoue was the first member of the house to show me kindness. So maybe Inoue saw through Iba's ruse, but agreed through the intentions to get my mind to a better place. He placed a hand on my shoulder, while his eyes gazed at me with contemplation. His words came confidently and seemed to melt my worry, even if it was just a little. I bowed towards Iba. Thank you very much. I agree with you, and I'm grateful for your words. However, if I can't obtain any information on my father, it might be best for us to just return now. Iba seemed taken aback by my suggestion.
ちょっと待ってください。それじゃあ意味がないでしょ。あなたに少しでも気晴らしをしてほしくて、こうして連れ出したのに。
I know, but
井上さんも僕と同じ気持ちだってさっき言ったでしょ。ろくに気晴らしもしないうちに友所に戻ったりしたら、それこそ僕や井上さんの行為を踏みにじることになりますよ。
I guess he had a point. Still.
今は周りに新選組の大使もいません。めったにない機会だと思って好きなことをしてみたらどうですか？
What I want?
はい。井上さんから聞きましたけど。
I mean, I know what I want right now.
見物もできなかったんでしょ？何でもいいから言ってみてください。あなたがしたいことは。
Oh, give me an option to say him. Take a stroll. Yes. Hold my hand. Let's go. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to take a stroll. His eyes widened with surprise, and he was so excited it felt like the words were spilling from his mouth.
それだけでいいんですか？
Yeah. Although I am allowed to go on rounds. I've never just tried walking around Kyoto, let alone taking in some of the sights. Eva's eyes thinned kindly and he nodded.
わかりました。じゃあそうしましょう。
Let's go! Let's go!
ずいぶん無欲なんですね。
You have no idea how easily charmed I am, my guy. They just need to hit like 1 or 2 points and that's it. You've got me. Like, that's all it takes. My standards on the ground. I would never do that. The honesty behind his compliments made me blush, and I was too shy to look at him in the eye. Suddenly, Iba glanced at the wide sky and muttered to himself.
あなたが焦ったり心配する気持ちはわかります。けれど、ここで気を張り続ければ見つかるものでもありません。病は心労から来るって言うでしょう。病気にでもなったらお父上も悲しみますよ。
A sudden thought popped in my head, making me recall the first moment I met Iba. He had this innate ability, this amenable charisma that made every word leave his mouth without a sense that he was coercing you into his opinion. You could sense that his suggestion was always out of respect, and he knew the best times to affirm and sympathize.
それじゃあ行きましょうか。
What a dude, what a dude. Iba started to stroll slowly. As we walked through the town, I would occasionally pass girls appearing around my age. All the girls wore kimonos and hairpins, and they all dressed so fashionably, and it captivated me. I'd almost forgotten how girls could dress.
今日の気倒れ、大阪の食い倒れなんて言いますけど、こっちの女の子は気道楽ですね。
Yeah. Unlike Edo, where girls wouldn't even wear makeup, they seemed like every girl in Kyoto wore lipstick.
あなたもああいう着物を着ればすごく似合いそうなのにもったいないことも何もない。
Oh shit. I fell silent after his backhanded compliment. You're joking.
冗談じゃありませんよ。いつか綺麗な着物を着たところを見られるのを楽しみにしていますね。
Like a wedding one? As we walked, we strolled around Kyoto, soaking in the happenings of the city. When we passed by the tea shop where we first met, Iba suddenly stopped.
この間のお店だ。せっかくだから。
Jumping the gun there? No, 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 no. He brought it up, not me. That's on him. No, thank you. We won't find any leads there.
君は真面目ですね。まあ、そこも君のいいところですけど。
Bet. I wasn't sure if it was because he comes from an elite family, but Iba was rather blunt. He was so forward with his compliments.
私は
Sure. Next time. So I wonder if he was already plotting another one of these strolls. I mean, if it wasn't as if Iba made me unhappy or uncomfortable, but I was admittedly a little surprised by how much of concern he showed me. We returned to the main road when Iba had a sudden flash of inspiration.
そういえばこっちって甘いものがすごく美味しいですよね。
Sweet?
前にカステイラってお菓子を食べたんですけど、あれすごく美味しかったですよ。卵が入ってるので需要にもいいみたいですし、いつかあなたにも食べさせてあげたいな。
That sounds neat. Oh. Of course, I've never eaten of the sweets he was talking about, but hearing him speak so excitedly about it had me excited as well. The calm sunset drifted into the outer golden sky, and a pool of soft orange hovered above us, whispering of the blue night yet to come. Summer passed, meaning the cool autumn leaves revolved around the later setting sun. If we took our time, the darkness would beat us home. Iba, I think we need to head back to the compounds.
そうですよね。名残惜しいな。
His cloudy eyes pierced through me, and I almost felt overcome by the somber mood brought on by the end of our adventure. I'm sorry.
いえ、顔を上げてください。あなたを困らせたいわけじゃないですから。機会は今日だけじゃないですよね。また折を見て誘います。
Oh no, I wanted to apologize for something else, actually. It seemed like Iba operated in extremes, and both his exuberance for life and the penchant for deep introspection made my heart tighten. From all the kindness you've shown me, I think it's because you've known me from before, right? Man's a poet with his words. Yes! The thing is, I can't remember you at all, and it eats away at me. So I'm sorry for saying this, but... I could see the drifting sun in his melancholy eyes, and he smiled kindly to me. There was so much sincerity in his words and his being.
仕方ありませんよ。だってあの時、あなたはまだ5つかそこらでしたから。
Wait, you met me when I was 5? That was so long ago. Yet he took one glance at me and he remembered who I was. Iba nodded quietly, perhaps mirrored by the brief gust of nostalgia. I reflected then about my life at 5 years old. Was it around the time I moved to Edo? Girl, how would you remember anything from when you were 5? The ghost of old memories were so hard to pin, and each year hazes of phases into smoke. Did I have a playmate back then or something? I desperately tried to scavenge any image of Iba that I could, but nothing came to mind. Meanwhile, he stared at me blankly, seemingly struck between a wall of restoration and an ache for a time gone by.
あの時の約束、覚えてる？
Huh? What do you mean?
ダメですよ。女の子が危ない真似をしちゃ大怪我するから。
You mean at the tea shop? You told me a girl shouldn't enter a dangerous situation, right? Iba sighed deeply, and his forlorn expression burrowed straight into me. Then he wiped it away and smiled brightly.
そのことですね。気をつけなきゃいけませんよ。
His reluctance to confirm what I had asked him led me to believe that he was, in fact, referring to something else that he had said to me in the past. But nothing comes to mind.
そろそろ豚舎へ戻りましょうか。
Okay, oh man, were they like childhood friends and they did like that cute thing where they're like, when we get old, I'm gonna marry you, and then they got separated, and now we finally met her, but I don't remember him, and he's like, I still love you. I often drew a blank when thinking of my childhood, so this was more frustrating. It sure is, girl, it sure is. The shores of his eyes reflected the mourning in his soul, yet his gentle demeanor put me at ease. I wondered what kind of words he said to me back then. Why couldn't I remember anything about them? Such thoughts crossed my mind as I walked back to the Mibu town with Iba. Iba, I love you. Chapter 3. Hey, we finally got to chapter 3. Let's go. I know that chest. Oh, shit. The dawn of the new year arrived. It was February 1865, and we'd finished eating breakfast. I was carrying a plate full of tea and opened the door to the common room. Tea's ready. I made my way around the room, pouring a cup of tea for each person there, making sure not to spill. Can't believe you ogling their chests. Listen. Men are objects. 1865? Yeah. Yeah. I made my way around the room, pouring a cup of tea for each person there, making sure not to spill. He gave me a warm smile as I handed him his tea. Thank you. Men are what now? I felt a flush of pride in his words, even though I knew quite well that serving tea was hardly impressive. Just the same, it felt as though I was helping out in a way, and it was a nice feeling. Then Hichikata spoke, and his words brought me back to the present. A person sitting beside Kondo pointed at the map spread upon the table. Oh, you look fucking evil, bro. I'm sorry. No good person does their hair like that. Like, every single villain I've seen had hair like that, you know? Like, damn. Oh, and you're the bitch. The man was named Kashitaro Ito, recruited by Heisuke a few months ago as the Shinsugumi's military advisor and deputy commander. He developed his notoriety teaching Hoshinin Ito at his dojo and was known for his scholarliness. The most villain-coded man I've ever seen. Exactly. Exactly. Look at him. Look at him in his yaoi hand. That hand's so big for his face. Are you kidding? His right hand man, Dio. Exactly. Bro. Kondo seemed very impressed by Ito's suggestion, but a silent voice of protest arose. Giant yaoi hands. Exactly, bro. Ito's brow twitched as if disturbed by the idea, and he faced Sanan directly. Ito's deflection of Sanan's words left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth, including Sanan. Hello, sailor. Hi? Hi? Oh, shit. You know what's doing it? The fucking choker. This whole group is so extra. God damn! Saburo, watch your mouth, darling. You don't get to talk to him that way. I don't know the group dynamic, but like, you don't talk to him. It's Saburo, is it? Hi, I'm Bluma. Nice to meet you. Saburo Miki! The other man besides Ito was Saburo Miki, who joined at the same time as Ito. Allegedly, he was Ito's younger brother by blood. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. There ain't no way. There ain't no way those are brothers. Well, maybe they have like the same eye shape. Still. Let it run free, man. I love that carrot. Oh my god. Yes. Fuck. I watched Sanan bit his lip, an act of restraint on Ito's sour words. Ito is such a bitch. Look at him. The tension was cut by another voice. Hichikata's voice was cold and sharp, like the sound of a blade sliding across a whetstone. Ito seemed taken aback, and his eyes grew wide. Ito invented the hair straightener, and Miki invented the hairspray. Shit. Yeah, tell him, Hijikata. Hijikata only spoke when necessary, so it must have been something that truly believed. However, he couldn't even seem to bring himself to finish. It seemed as though Hijikata realized his words were reminding Sanan of what he used to be, causing Sanan to curl his lips into a frown. God, you're a bitch. Hichikata's eyes seethed with anger towards Ito. Kondo tried to relieve the tension by stepping in and clearing the air. Yeah, get that bitch out of here. Get him out. Jesus. Seeing the two get up, Takeda followed right behind them. Kondo left the common room with Ito and Miki, however, who still sat before us. Hey. He smirked coldly towards us and slinked off to leave the common room. Damn. He's from a L'Oreal commercial. True, he's that one on the horseback, and he turns around, he's just a guy. Okita spoke once Miki's footsteps were inaudible. Eventually, Hijikata approached Sanan, who weakly hung his head, facing the floor in shame. Sonnen laughed dryly and shook his head.
伊藤さんは学識も高く弁舌に優れ剣の腕も確かな方です。優秀な参謀の入隊でついに総長はお役御免というわけです。おい、三男さん。
Sonnen left the room as Ichika's voice trailed behind, echoing in the hall.
三男さんの気の毒だな。あの調子だから近頃大使連中にも避けられちまって。
What? But why?
無理もねえだろう。どんな言葉をかけても全部悪く取られちまうし。何を言っても皮肉と嫌味しか返ってこねえから大使たちも怯えちまって近づかねえんだよ。
Picking up dirty clothes, having me on the background. Ah, it sounds good. Even though I haven't been there as long as the captains, I knew Sonnen so well liked by the other warriors before his injury.
土方さん、伊藤さんたちなんて適当な理由をつけてさっさと追い出しちゃってくださいよ。あの人たちが来てから僕、毎晩嫌な夢ばっかり見るんですよね。
そんなことできるわけねえだろうが。伊藤さんはすっかり伊藤さんに心酔してるみてえだし、伊藤さんと一緒に入隊してきた連中もそんな扱いをされりゃ黙っちゃいねえだ。
役に立たない人だな。無理を通すのが鬼副長の役目でしょ。
んじゃてめえが副長やりゃいいだろうが。で、あいつらを追い出せ。
嫌に決まってるじゃないですか。そんなめんどくさいの。
The consensus was that Ito was not to be trusted, and it seems no one spoke in his defense. Only one, during all this, quietly sipped his tea. Saito quietly looked up at me as I poured more tea into his cup. So, what do you think about Ito? I mean, about Ito joining, that is.
さまざまな考えを持つ者が属してこそタイという広がりを見せる。
Ah, so then...
だが無理に広げようとすると内部で瓦解を始めることに。
His words hung in the air, a dark omen for the future of the Shinsegumi. It was considerate of Ito to join, but his presence seemed to be a recipe for dissension, if not outright disaster. The setting sun glowed through the windows with a warm, rich maroon, an ominous kind of beauty. It's cold. I came out to the yard with my body stopped due to the cold. Guess spring will take a while. I wasn't too fond of Ito, but it was Sanan and his condition that truly worried me. I really wish his arm would just heal. That arm, or perhaps more accurately the lack of it, was the source of his change in personality. Still, as nice as it would be for Sanan's arm to simply start working again, that seemed like a stuff of a child's fable, not real life. That was when I remembered.
薬でも何でも使ってもらうしかないですね。三男さんも納得してくれるんじゃないかな。
そうじ。めったなこと言うもんじゃねえ。幹部が羅刹になってどうするんだよ。
Okita was talking about the Shinsegumi having some secret serum back in that day. Judging from how they spoke of it, it's an item with circumstances. But... And I was not to know the existence of that serum. If I were to look into it without approval, there was no doubt that I would be punished. But I'm the daughter of a doctor. I'm pretty sure I had more knowledge of medicine than the men of the Shinsegumi did. Oh, sheesh. Sheesh. What do we do here? Investigate. I've decided. I'm gonna muster the courage and look into this. But where should I investigate? My room is in the Yagi house. There are some rooms that I'm not allowed to enter, but the captains live here as well, and I'd finally learned how to navigate the building. However, there was another building that was part of the headquarters of the Shinsegumi, aside from the Yagi house. Some of the leaders, along with the other warriors, lived in the Maikewa house, diagonal from Yagi. and Sanan, who's injured, had been holed up in the Nabu residence, located behind Yagi. Since it's a residence, one cannot just stroll there casually, and since it was barely used by another one other than Sanan, it's a little isolated. If there were secrets being kept from me, then they have to be kept in a place I'd never think to check. If I were to look into it, it would rather either be in the forbidden areas of the Yagi residence, or which one should I look into? Nabu House. Once I was quite sure everyone in the Yagi house was asleep, I made my move. So far, so good. Luckily, I was able to get to the entrance without anything happening, and I sighed with relief. Oh, shit. The surprise of seeing someone froze me. Okita, well, I'm not. I'm gonna go eat. Alright. Look, well, it's not like that. How was I supposed to explain this? The more panicked, the more I choked up. You're right. He was right. Even if I somehow managed to escape the Shinsegumi, I could lose my best chance at finding my father. Yeah, maybe Okita was right. That if I was reckless of me to investigate the serum, the thoughts swirled in my head before Okita spoke again. Huh? He sounded rather serious for a moment. What do you mean by something scary? What could I run into in the Shinsegumi's headquarters that could be as scary as what he's thinking? So ominous, yeah. He looked almost surprised for a moment, his face breaking into a rear grin. That does sound scary. If Hichikata found out when I was walking around the compound without permission, I'm just gonna go back to my room now. Okita started to hum as he walked. I didn't expect to be found, especially by Okita of all people. There's no way I could sneak into the Nabu house behind his back. Maybe I could investigate the Yagi house before going back to my room. Wait. I was so surprised I hadn't stopped to think. Why was Okita up so late? It was as if he expected someone to leave the Yagi house. But there's no way he could have known that I would try. And if not me, then who? It was the night of the Yagi house, and it was dead silent. I tiptoed down the halls as quietly as possible. Huh? Were my ears playing tricks on me, or did someone just walk into the common room? It would be in trouble if someone saw me, so I did my best to blend into the shadows and hide. After a few moments of heart-pounding seclusion, my curiosity got the better of me. I departed my hiding space and crept toward the common room. I peered inside. It was Sanan. I wonder why. Something felt wrong. I just stood there. What is Sanan doing here so late at night? I was at a loss. Should I speak to him, or... before I could make up my mind, he turned. Sanan gazed directly at me and muttered. I guess he had spotted me. I gave up and made myself visible to Sanan. I'm sorry if it seemed like I was snooping or watching what you were doing. Rip. Huh? It was very subtle, but I noticed something was off about Sunon's attitude. He had a peaceful smile, something I hadn't seen for felt like ages. It was a bit too peaceful, as if his worries had suddenly left him. It was an expression I'd never seen since he'd gotten injured. Sanan, did something good happen? Oh boy. Something swished in his hand. Sanan, what is that? After his cryptic reply, he showed me what was in his hand. Sanan was holding a small bottle made of a fine enduro. The glass was filled with a crimson liquid that looked like a poisonous chemical to me. What? The shogunate ordered my father to do something? What do you mean by utterly transform? It sounded like something out of a fairy tale. If such a thing were truly to exist, the serum would be considered a miracle cure, but... His smile twisted only a little. Huh? Of course. I'd seen the result of this madness the night I first met the Shitsugumi. Okita and Saito had killed off the monster with the white hair. His words brought a sharp chill down my spine. How terrible. No. My father conducting experiments on human beings? That made them go mad at the sight of blood? I couldn't believe it. No, I didn't want to believe it. But there was no reason for Sanan to lie either. I saw it before his very eyes. Then did my father really... Sanan shrugged at my disbelief and discontinued. Oh. He smirked and shook the bottle gently. The liquid inside sloshed from side to side, almost lazily. I had so many questions to ask him, but I didn't even know where to start, so I simply spoke the first thing that came to mind. If you drink that, will you be okay? So that serum, will it prevent you from going mad? His smile faded. You mean you're actually considering taking it? He had no guarantee that I wouldn't simply kill him outright. And even if he did survive, it might as well drive him insane. Sanan, please reconsider this. I'm sure there's some other way. You don't need to rely on the... How could you say it's pity? You're a leader here. The Shinsugumi respect and need you now, more than ever. Sanan's eyes dotted with melancholy, flashing a brief smile that entertained the idea behind my words. Sanan seemed bitterly focused on the words Hijikata said earlier. They really did affect him.
生きた屍になれというのであれば人として死なせてください
No.
失敗すると決まったわけではありませんそう分の悪い賭けではありません
Sanan smiled as he said that, but there was no way of knowing what might happen to him. Considering the worst that could happen, I couldn't sit by and allow him to do this. Scream. Well, Okita did say when we were feeling scared to just scream and he'd come to us. I'm thinking we just fucking scream, because there's no way he's gonna listen to anything I say. Ain't no way. No how. So, screaming. Sanan came to hate himself for being unable to fight alongside his comrades and friends. Even if they forgave him, he never forgave himself. But
わからないかもしれません
was it the sort of thing only a fellow swordsman could comprehend then? How could I convince him to listen? It was then, in the moment of helplessness, that I remembered Okita's words.
もし怖いものを
Did we really need this flashback game? Did we really need this? This literally happened less than like 5 minutes ago. Thank you. Okay. Of course. I could never know what Sanan felt, but another man devoted to the sword might. I screamed as loud as my lungs allowed. My voice echoed down the halls and across the courtyards of the compound. Okita! But even as I cried out, Sanan drew his head back and drained the vial in a single draught. No! With a soft clink of glass, it rolled from Sanan's palm to the floor in the common room, his face wrapped in pain as he collapsed to the floor. Oh boy. His hair began to turn white. It became clear to me that this pain was something no ordinary person could handle. Sanan, you have to hold on! Through his fingers, I saw his maddening eyes. Before me were the eyes that greeted me the first night in Kyoto. Behind me, I heard the door slide open. Sanan looked behind me, over his shoulder.
起きたく
こんばんは三男さん
Sanan turned into a vampire. Close! Close! It seemed Okita didn't even look at me. His eyes completely focused on Sanan, then briefly a small ball on the floor, then back to Sanan. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad Okita likes this. Okay. Okita, Sanan is... Sanan stared at Okita, his breath ragged and pained, like the air struggled its way into the chest.
実験は失敗です起きたく
ええ分かってます
His expression flashed into a familiar grin. Okay. Even after Okita drew his sword, it still didn't occur to me what was about to happen. Oh, I think we know. The polished tip of Okita's blade was pointed directly at Sanan.
安心してくださいきちんと僕が解釈してあげますよ
見込みが早くて助かります
Sanan exuded a calm around the sound of Okita's response. I held my breath, unsure if I wanted to see what was about to happen. Okita, you're not serious, are you? You aren't really gonna kill him, are you? My voice shook with disbelief, and Okita's eyes paid me no attention.
君やめてくれないかなそういうのよそ者は黙っててよ
But, wasn't Sanan his comrade? His friend? Everyone seemed to give their heart and soul to the Shinsegumi, but not like this.
鬱陶しいんだよ新選組大使にでもなったつもり
He didn't even move, but his tone hit like a slap. I've been living with them for so long that my initial fear almost completely disappeared. I felt like I had found a place for myself.
忘れたって言うんならもう一度言ってあげるよ君は利用価値があるから生かしてあげてるだけで僕たちの仲間じゃない
His words shattered my already breaking heart. But just then, Sanan screamed in pain, and I saw him kick the floor. Then I heard a horrific sound, like meat being cleaved from the resounding through the darkness. Peeking over Okita's back, I heard the loud thud of a body collapsing to the floor, and around Okita's foot pooled dark red puddle of blood. Sanan? I was trembling as I watched the blood trickle. Okita's arm appeared in front of me, coldly. But why? I gave him a reproachful gaze, and he showed no signs of faltering. Huh? So Sanan's still alive? Okita nodded bitterly, his body locked into a defensive position. I was relieved from the bottom of my heart. Oh, thank goodness. This good news, however, didn't mean we could let our guards down. Sanan could lose his senses again and potentially mortally wound us. But for now, at least, Sanan was still alive. Sounds like a vampire. After Sanan collapsed, the captains rushed into the room. They must have heard the commotion from the common room. Everything glowed white after, and I realized that I was in a daze. None of the words stuck into my ear, and I wobbled my way back to my room. Okita had taken me back to my room, and I heard him as soon as he opened the door for me. Okita was never particularly pleasant to me, but his tone was even harsher than usual. I felt like there was someone in the common room. I was curious, so I had a look, and that's where I found Sanan. Okita's lackadaisical response seemed disarming, and he just scanned me. Although my mind was cleared somewhat, it was still difficult to keep my thoughts organized. One, however, rose quickly to the surface. Is it true that my father had something to do with that? The stuff Sanan drank? Yeah, he said that. It makes you stronger, but it drives you mad. He fixed his eyes wearily on the ceiling above us, sighing before eventually answering my question. His manner of speaking was far removed from his usual joking self when he mentioned killing, but this time I felt like he meant it. You know, I bet... you think that is an ending? We just piss him off enough that someone just finally just... You know? He could kill me at any time. You think that's an ending? Just eventually Okita's like, you know what? I'm done. And he just slices us. I desperately searched for the words. Why did the Shinsugumi get involved in something like this? Yeah. Among the Ronin, there were plenty that were actually skilled swordsmen. When I was on the rounds, I saw many men fighting and dueling amongst themselves. An experiment. That must have been what Sanan was referring to. So, you knew that the side effects were, and you still made them take it? Cut yourself open?
切腹しかないじゃない。
Traditionally, when samurai disgraced themselves, they drove the swords into their bellies. I had thought such traditions were obsolete, and that now the worst they can do is pretend to cut themselves open with a fan.
でもまあどうせ死んじゃうんだし、最後にもう一度役に立ってもらった方がいいでしょ。だから切腹するか薬を飲むか好きな方を選んでもらうことにしたんだ。かわいそうだよね。
I couldn't think of anything to say. What sort of choice was that? Death by your own hand, or madness and death by someone else's? The men that I encountered that winter night, had their last thoughts of men been hope that they might survive this madness? It sounded horrible.
簡単に強くなれる薬があれば便利だよね。実際は全然大したことなかったんだけど、僕たちでも簡単に切っちゃえる。
In a moment, I was taken back by a fateful night when Okita dispatched the warriors with white hair without any effort.
三男さんはこれからどうなるんだろうね。
I was worried too. Was Sanan okay? Would he change? My stomach was twisted itself into knots. And so, the long night broke. The captains of the Shinsugumi gathered in the common room. The room collectively breathed a sigh of relief.
どうなんだ三男。今までの大使たちみたいになっちまってるのか、それとも。
Inoue simply shook his head. Suddenly then, the door slid open.
おはようございます。
Bitch.
皆さん、ご機嫌いかがでした？うげとご挨拶ですのね。皆さん、お顔の色が優れない様子ですね。
そりゃ朝っぱらからあんたの顔を見たせいに決まってるだろう。
まあ、長倉君ったら冗談がお上手ですこと。
Ito dismissed Nagakura's snide remark, and he turned to face the standing warriors.
皆さんの顔色がよろしくないのは、もしかして昨晩の騒ぎと関わりがあるのかしら。あ、じゃあ、そう。
Desperately, Kondo's eyes flew around the room as if looking for someone to offer an excuse.
よし、ごまかせ様。
あ、俺か。実は昨日。
大根役者は出しゃばらないでくれるかな。そういうのだったらもっと得意な人がいるじゃない。
Okita turned to Saito expectantly, and the latter spoke up at once.
伊藤参謀がお察しの通り、昨晩屯所内にて事件が発生しました。
事件ですって。
ですが我々もまだ全容を把握できてはいない状況です。今の時点での説明は余計な誤解を招くばかりかと。ですので今夜にでも場を設け、詳しくお伝えさせていただきたく存じます。
そういうことですね。事情は分かりましたよ。今夜のお呼ばれ、心待ちにしていますので。では、ごめん遊ばせて。
Ito brandished another strange smile, stood, nodded, and left the room promptly.
なんとか見逃してもらえたみたいだね。
What do you mean?
伊藤さんはなんだかんだで頭が回る人だ。幹部が勢ぞろいしてる場に三男さんだけいねえ。あの人絡みで何かあったってことならすぐ感づくだろう。
Oh. Ito had lightly guessed what had took place, but decided not to press the issue. I had looked up just in time to see Sanan shuffle through the door. Sanan!
そんな化け物を見るような目で見られても困りますよ。
三男さん、起きてていいのかい？
少し気だるいです。これも薬の副作用でしょう。あの薬を飲んでしまうと。
Man, they really sound like vampires. Oh my god. Sanan looked a little pale, but didn't took too difficult for him to stand and speak. But if it's hard for him to move during the day...
私は人ではありません。
Those words sunk our hearts heavily. Even the captains fell silent to his solemn admission.
いや、サンナ君、君が生きていてくれてよかった。
Bro.
我々はそれだけで十分だと思う。
Kondo stood and grabbed Sanan's shoulders tightly, his expression bright and endearing. Tears nearly welled in his beaming eyes.
それで腕の方はどうなんですか？
Sounds like a vampire. Can't be killed, struggles to move around in the day. Yeah, it really sounds like a vampire.
まだ本調子ではありませんからね。自分でもよく。
He lifted his left arm, the arm that before had hung limp at his side, and flexed his hand. It didn't look any different from before his injury.
治っているようですね。少なくとも不便がない程度には。
Thank goodness. In spite of the chaos from last night, his wish to use his arm once more came true. However,
あの薬を飲んだってことは昼間動けねえようになっちまった。それなのにタイムに参加なんてできるの？
his voice was calm, almost
解
careless.
決策はあります。私が死んだことにすればいい。これから私は薬の成功例として挫折を束ねていこうと思っています。
サンナさん、それ本気で言ってるのか？あんた自分が何を言ってるのか
分かっていますと。君我々は薬の存在を伏せるよう幕府から命じられているのですよ。私が死んだことにすれば今までのように薬の存在を隠し通すことができる。それにもし薬の持つ副作用を消すことができるのだとすればそれを使わない手はないでしょう。
They seemed to be against Sanan's idea, though no one said anything. Who would want to consign a friend to a life of secrecy, living in the shadows? But
薬の実験は幕府からの足でもよろしい。そうするしかないか。
まあ三男さんが自分で選んだ道ですし、止めたって聞く人じゃないですよね。
よくわかっています。その通りですよ。
resigning himself to live in the shadows. Hijikata scoffed at Sanan's suggestion, and bitterness furrowed his words.
所移転の話、冗談じゃ済まされない。広い図書が必要。
同意します。薬の研究を続けるのでなおのこと移転を急ぐべきかと。
よし、ろくに寝てねえとこ悪いが、話し合いを始めさせてもらうぜ。リキム、お前は部屋に戻って。
Okay, understood. Please excuse me. I bowed to everyone and left the common room. I'm happy that Sanan is safe, but a whole flurry of new concerns arose. Learning of my father's horrible work, what will become of me? Will I be safe? Such thoughts buzzed heavily in my head as I walked back to my room. June 1865. Our emperor had passed, and our year moved from the second of the Ganji to the first of the Kaio. I can't remember what was the reason she wanted to find her father so much. She just wanted to see her dad, I think. I don't think there was an exact reason. She was just like, he went missing, and she was like, well, I gotta find him. He's the only family I got left, kind of a thing. It was 3 months since we moved to the headquarters, the Nishi Hagawani Ji. There's a lot more room, but more room meant, well, further to walk. I walked through it almost every day for weeks, and I was finally beginning to learn my way around. As I turned to the corner near the back of the compound, I caught sight of someone sitting in the shadows. This is starting to sound like too dangerous of a quest to reasonably continue. Yeah. Ah, there you are, Sanan. Your food's ready. The snow disappeared, and the cherry blossoms bloomed and fled, and now the swallows of the heat came. You know, clean clothes. Alright, good luck, Ryusu. Sana and I exchanged a pair of smiles, and I held out my hands to let the breeze brush across them. It's really gotten warm lately. Sana back to normal? No. No, he's not. No. Somewhat, yeah. I guess somewhat. He's, from what we understand, he's able to control the madness. He's not going into psycho mode yet, and his arm is healed. But, like, he can't go in daylight, and it looks like he can't be killed. So, I don't know, kind of normal. Really? I don't think the sun was particularly strong that day, but to Sanan, who hid in the shadows and out of the sight during the day, it must have been unbearable. The night he changed. Sanan's hair turned white, and his eyes were athirst for blood. But looking at this peaceful smile now made it hard to imagine such a night was real. If someone told me it was all a bad dream, I might have believed it. But it wasn't a dream. And now the Sanan spends his days hiding in the sunlight, hiding from sunlight and from the others. For just a moment, the sun hit Sanan's hair. I don't know if it was the trick of the light or simply my mind being foolish, but in that moment, his hair was brilliant white. This is some bull poop. Oh, no, nothing at all. He looked perfectly normal now, of course. Surely I thought I must have simply imagined it. Even if I had, there was no denying that he was the same man who went mad with bloodlust. The fear of night cast a shadow over my heart. Got a Tokyo Ghoul reference over here. Stinky. It was unnerving. Heisuke and I made our way through the crowded as usual streets of Kyoto at a brisk pace. You know, I haven't gone on patrol with you in quite a while, Heisuke. Everything was fine. They were kind to me. None at all. Alright, I'm gonna go now, Mistress Bluma. Good luck on stream. Alright, thanks, Ryusu. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you. The somberness of Heisuke's expression started to rub off on me. Now I was depressed. Oh, thank you for taking me the time to look anyway. Heisuke? Heisuke stopped himself mid-sentence, which was jarring. Ever since returning from Edo, he looked glum. Hey, Heisuke. How about you? It's been a while since you were in Kyoto. Does it seem different from Edo? Huh? I wondered what was going through his head. Did something happen to him in Edo? His sudden change of character confused me. Heisuke's head jerked up slightly, and he looked across the street. He stood on his toes and waved. Okita was out on patrol as well, although his route took him a different path of the city. The Shogun's coming to visit Kyoto? I see. I hope it turns out well. Right, Heisuke? Huh? Something had really gotten into him. I glanced at Okita to see if he had noticed anything. Okita, are you okay?
平気だよ。ちょっと風邪をひいちゃったみたい。
I see. Please take care of yourself. I have medicine to treat colds, so I'll give you some when we return.
そう。ありがとう。君でもごくたまに役に立つことがあるんだね。
What's the matter? Okita's eyes looked past me, and suddenly something caught his attention off to the side.
断るとはどういう了見だ。
やめてください。話して。
民草のために日々上位を論ずる我ら志士に尺の一つや二つ自分からするのが当然であろうが。
Across the street, a clump of perhaps 3 or 4 men were harassing a young girl. Okita, Heisuke!
分かってるって。お前はここで待ってろ。
But it appeared that Okita got to them first.
やれやれ。上位って言葉も君たちに使われるんじゃかわいそうだよ。
The usual crowd shuffled away from Okita, and the men quickly as they could. No one wanted to be near the sight of an unsheathed blades. Samurai Champloo-esque story beat here, yeah. The Ronin's eyes found Okita's jacket, and the men stiffened.
新選組か。
知ってるなら話が早いな。どうする？
His lips curled into a predatory smile as his hand gripped his sword. There was no mirth in that vicious grin, and the Ronin's faces grew much paler. Their moods were not totally deflated yet, as their ringleader made out one more attempt. The two Shinsegumi blue jackets standing shoulder to shoulder was enough to deter the men. The last color drained from their faces, and they turned tail and ran. You aren't gonna go after them? Arrest them?
どんな罪で？君って意外と過激だな。
I didn't really mean it like that.
助けてくださってありがとうございました。
Oh, you're cute. Hi.
南雲薫と申します。
I watched the girl give Okita a quick bow. She was refined and so ladylike. Even dressed like a girl, I doubted I could ever be as elegant as her. I'd only just begun to feel sorry for myself when suddenly I felt a hand on my arm. But Okita!
いいからこの子の横に立って。
He shoved me next to the girl that we just rescued, and then stepped back to stroke his chin thoughtfully. Damn, we cute. Okita? I glanced nervously toward the girl and attempted to smile kindly under the circumstances. The smile she gave as a return was beautiful, but there was something about it that seemed odd. She seemed familiar. What?
やっぱりよく似てるね。二人とも。
Oh shit, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to assume. I mean, every bitch with black hair and brown eyes can't be my sister, right? We look alike? That's when I finally realized. She was identical to whom I saw in the mirror. Long lost sister? Maybe. I don't know.
似てるよ。きっとこの子が女装したら
I mean,
になると思うな。
I've read through this once, and I've read the second book, right? So I don't want to say what I know, because it's a little bit of a spoiler, I think.
この方、この子いらっしゃいます？
I had to say something, but what? Perhaps she saw through my confusion, or perhaps it was something else.
きちんとお礼をしたいのですけれど、今は所用がありまして、ご容赦くださいね。この不運は大いずれ新鮮な
My evil twin. With that, the girl who called herself Kaoru disappeared into the crowds of Kyoto, although the uneasiness created by her presence remained.
おいおい、ありゃ掃除にキレもあるんじゃない。今のがそう見えたんなら、ケイスケは一生佐野さんに勝てないよね。どういう意味だよ。
Their back and forth continued, but my mind was elsewhere. Last night's rain left a number of puddles on the road, and I looked into them. I saw a strange girl who looked just like me. Kaoru, huh? One caught the surface of the puddle, sending a flurry of ripples across it. Ah, right, I'm coming! I turned and ran toward Heisuke and Okita, already on their way back to headquarters. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. I was gonna try and get through chapter 3, but I'm worried it's gonna be a really long one. So we'll call it here. We got through the rest of chapter 2 though. That was like my main concern. Save. It feels like a good spot to just kind of pause too. Alright. Plenty of progress. Yeah. Good. Alright. Yeah, good shit. Alright, later today I'll have the schedule up for next week. Yeah, I think that's only the real update for you. But thanks for hanging out. I'm glad we're all enjoying the book together. Alright, so until next time, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Hope you have a good night, lamb chops. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.